right, hello. Welcome to my what day is today? Sunday live stream. I'm gonna do a little bit shorter of a stream than I've been doing regularly because an hour is a bit long for me. If I get a lot of people in here and they're asking me questions and stuff, I'll go longer. But since these streams, I'm kind of doing them in place of doing like an edited video now. I'm gonna shorten them a little bit, 30 to 45 minutes. I think is what I want to do. But anyway, besides all that, we're talking about Batman today. And why are we talking about Batman? Because he is my favorite. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my settings here. Because Batman is my favorite superhero. He's my favorite comic book character. And I feel I can make the argument that he is the best superhero, the best hero, the best comic book character. I feel like saying the best comic book character is hard because then you have to put him against villains and like any kind of weird odds and ends. But I think he is the best hero, and there's several reasons why I think he is and why he's my favorite. So I'm going to try to make that argument now. Plus, I have a bunch of cool Batman stuff in my collection because he's my favorite hero. So I have omnibuses. I've got single issues, key issues. I've got some graded comics back here. I've got toys. It goes on and on. I have so much Batman in my collection, and that's because I really do feel like Batman is my favorite character. I keep saying that, but let's get into why. First, actually, just because I want to show something before I start getting into like all the details about why Batman is the best. I want to show off a really cool cover, and that is this one right here. This is like low-key one of my favorite Batman covers of all time. It mainly just because I love what he's doing to the trade dress. I love what he's doing to the Batman logo, and it's by one of my favorite Silver Age artists, Carmine Infantino. And the red, and I think this is an underrated book. You can pick this book up super cheap, and I don't even think it says Carmine Infantino down there, by the way. I don't even think, like, if you look this up on Key Comic Collector or Key Collector Comics, rather, I don't think they have this listed as a key. And I would make this a key just because it's an iconic Carmine Infantino cover. But anyway, I just wanted to show this off because I love this comic, and I put this one up on my wall next to like much bigger keys just because I think it's so cool, and it's one of my favorite Batman covers of all time. And that's Blockbuster down there, I believe. So yeah, wanted to give that comic a shout out real quick. We're going to talk about a lot of Batman stuff, so we'll get into all that. Why is Batman the best comic book hero? Part 1. I think Batman is the best. Oh, no, I just realized I'm wearing a Batman shirt. I didn't even plan that. Coffee. I think he's the best because I think Batman inherently, because of the everything that makes up the character, I think writing for Batman creates interesting stories. So the art, like, we can talk about the art forever with Batman because he's one of DC's biggest characters, if not their biggest character. I mean, I don't know if it's Superman or Batman, but he's always had good artists on his books. So that is kind of goes without saying just because he's one of the Trinity, right? He's one of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. But I've always kind of like felt in comic books, some characters are easier to write for than others. Superman, in my opinion, not that there aren't so many good Superman stories out there, but there are a lot more good Batman stories. And why is that? I truly believe that Superman is a harder character to write for because Superman, it's hard to feel a sense of being scared for the character, like a sense of stakes for Superman because he's invulnerable. And also, let's also go back to Superman's an extreme example because you always have to include something like kryptonite or magic, right, to be able to beat him, or you have to be really creative to come up with a good story where Superman's in some actual danger. Now, again, I'm not a Superman hater. There are a lot of good Superman comics out there. Grant Morrison did a great one with Frank Quietly. I think it was All-Star Superman. There's some interesting angles and you can have with Superman, and Superman has some really good villains. But I think inherently Superman is a harder comic book character to write for than Batman. Batman doesn't have powers. Batman relies on his intellect. He has a Bat family around him. That has a lot of dynamics there. He has this tragic origin. Okay, Superman has a tragic origin too. You could argue more tragic than Batman because an entire planet was destroyed. But Batman's origin feels more personal, right? It's his parents, two regular people dying. Krypton exploding and his parents sending him away in a rocket ship. It's harder to connect with that. Again, I'm using Superman as an example. I think there are other examples in comic books of characters that are hard to write for and characters that are easy to write for. Not that Batman's easy to write for, but I think it just lends itself to better stories. But yeah, it's more personal, his journey, right? Having his parents murdered. That's something that you may know someone that happened to, or something similar to that, where someone lost a parent very young, and you can connect with that. So I think Batman has just a lot going for him before you even get into the stories. And then because, just like Batman has great art, he obviously has been lucky enough to get the best writers ever to write Batman stories. And I think that, Batman's library kind of speaks for itself. Even something modern like Scott Snyder's Court of Owls, which is like my favorite Batman run. And again, it's another thing. It's comparing classic Batman runs like Jeff Loeb and stuff, and Tim Sale to new. There's good things about both. So I know saying that a modern Batman run is my favorite is like, some people would argue that they're how could I put that one before certain other ones? Anyway, I think even modern runs like Scott Snyder was able to do with Court of Owls and with his whole Batman run, and then like Jim Lee and who's the writer? Was it Jeff Loeb? Yeah, Jeff Loeb. Were able to do with Hush. Hush is really, really good too. And those are modern runs. And then you go, like I said, you go back and you have Killing Joke, and you've got who's the one? It was Tim Sale and not Jeff Loeb, but A Long Halloween basically is what I'm talking about. And so you have classic stuff that's really good as well as modern stuff that's really good. And I've always said that like Batman's superpower, because he doesn't have one, right? And if you're, going by the movies, his superpower is that he's rich, kind of. But to me, his superpower is that he has a contingency plan for everything, which is why if you're putting him up against any other Marvel hero or villain, and you're asking me who would win in a fight, I'm gonna say Batman. If Batman knows the fight's coming, like obviously you drop him into a blank box with the Hulk, he could probably avoid him for a while, but he's not going to take the Hulk out, right? But give him a week to prepare for the Hulk, and I say Batman wins. Let him know what he's going into, and Batman's going to win every time, I think. And that's his superpower, right? Is that he's planned. He's one step ahead of you. He's planned for everything. There's a part, if it wasn't in Scott Snyder's run, I forget whose run it was in, where he's gets trapped in Blackgate, and he's surrounded by villains, but just in case this ever happens, he's installed subroutines into Blackgate's like whole computer system and lights and cameras and everything, and he activates this, and the lights start strobing and gas comes in or whatever, and he's able to fight off all these villains at once because he has prepared for this like rare situation. But that's what he does, right? He's a tactician and he's a detective, and I think I really love Robert Pattinson's take. Well, it's not just his take; it's the director too, right? But that take on Batman, because I think all the other Batman movies that have come out have done. The Christian Bale movies did it a little bit, showing that like he's the world's greatest detective, right? And detective stories are interesting. That's another reason, going back to why I say he's good to write for. Detective stories are interesting, even if it's not Batman, just a mystery story, right? And that Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, I think finally we had a Batman movie that showed what we all love from the comics, which is like the solving of the mystery that you get from Batman, which is, I think, unique. And remember, Batman came from literally Detective Comics. So when he was first created in Detective Comics 27, was it 37 or 27? I should know that. 27. It was about a guy dressed as a bat who solves mysteries, which is so hilarious to think about how far he's come now. Anyway, that's the beginning of my TED Talk about Batman being the best character. Now let's take a look at, and just to touch on that one more thing, yeah, the Robert Pattinson stuff, the way he saw, he did the fighting, but he also did the detective stuff. I just thought that was really amazing, and that's another thing that makes Batman the best, right? And one more thing about that. There's in Detective Comics, it was either in Detective Comics 1000 or Detective Comics 1027. I can't remember if it was the landmark issue of being 1000 or if it was the one that was Batman's 1000th Detective Comics. It was one of those two, but those were two big books because one was the landmark 1000 issue and one was the landmark 1000 Batmans. Or Batman being in the title. Anyway, he gets, in one of the short stories in that trade, he solves a mystery he's been working on for like his entire career, and he gets like welcome into this detective society. And I wish I had pulled up some images of this, but it's like Detective Chimp, and it's a few other people that I'm trying to remember who else was in there besides Detective Chimp. But I thought it was so funny because like, I think Mr. Terrific might have been in there. I don't know. But he should have been like the guy that created that organization. And they were making it like, he finally got in there. Anyway. Yeah, let's look at some of my omnibuses of Batman and some of my comics. I got some really cool Batman key issues. And I've got some toys. And we're going to start off, we're going to skip the Long Halloween stuff because I have read the Long Halloween, but I haven't read that entire omnibus. I've read the Long Halloween part of it, though, because there's just more than just that one story in there. It's really amazing, but I don't know enough about that run to... My Batman that I've read, because I collect older Batman, but my Batman that I've seriously read starts around here. And that's actually not 100% true. I have all the Batman Brave and the Bold omnibuses, and I've read the first one of those as well. So I have read some Batman Bronze Age material, and I have the Batman Silver Age. So I have actually read some Batman Silver Age as well. But I've spent a lot of time reading modern Batman. And this is one of the furthest back omnis that, and I know this is 90s, right? So there's a lot of good Batman that came before this. But this is Nightfall. Some people like this run. Some people don't like it that much. Some people are. I like it. I like 90s comic book art. So that's a big selling point on this for me. And I like. I mean, I'll tell you. My review of this is this. It's a 90s comic. You have to be prepared for that. And, whatever era of comics, I always say this, whatever era of comics you're reading, you got to know what you're getting into. And 90s, it's all about, ridiculous anatomy, right? And like pouches and stuff. It's got, I think, great art, but some people don't love 90s art. And the stories are okay. I think towards the end of the 90s, you started getting really, really good stories. You start getting to really good modern stuff like Hush, so I think, as comics have gone on, writing and art has gotten better. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, let's take a closer look at this. So this is Batman Nightfall. This is the first volume. This has this issue in it, where, I mean, spoiler, but where Bane breaks Batman's back. So I believe this came after they did the Death of Superman. And I think, and if I ever say anything wrong in these videos, I'm just going to remind anyone that watches now or in the VODs, leave a comment and correct me, please, because I can talk about comics forever, but sometimes I get things wrong, and there's so much to know about comics that it's impossible to keep it all in my brain, But I believe this came after the Death of Superman event, and I think they were kind of capitalizing on this idea of like something drastic happening to one of their big characters, and so they didn't kill Batman, but they kind of replaced him, and they injured him to the point of, I think, if you're reading at the time, you're like, is he ever going to come back? When is he going to come back? And so they set up this villain, and what I think was cool here is that they actually created a whole villain around this idea, which was Bane, because you got the origin of Bane that led into the Nightfall event. As a reminder, Bane was serving a sentence in a prison for Bane's father's crimes. So this is a character that from a baby grew up his whole life in a prison. I won't go into all the details about Bane. There's a whole thing where his cell would fill up with water every night and everything else like that. Basically, they were testing this drug on some of the prisoners, and the prisoners weren't living. And I guess they came to a point where they tested it on Bane, or he volunteered, one of the two, and he did live. And this venom that they were testing on him is what gave him like basically super strength and made him extremely strong. And he was able to, capitalize on that and break out of the prison. And from the reading he had done in prison, he wanted to go to Gotham, and he saw Batman as like basically the king of Gotham, and he wanted to go take down the king of Gotham. That was a very basic telling of the origin of Bane. So there's a good trade. If you don't want to read it in here, there's a really good trade that does the whole origin of Bane that you can get paperback. And it'll give you a much better explanation than what I just gave. But he gets to Gotham, and he starts causing mayhem. And Batman at this time is struggling with... This is the origin of Bane that's showing here. And this is when he gets the venom for the first time. And he breaks out, and he's smart because he's spent his whole life reading books, and he gets this like a crew together. And Batman at this time is struggling, and I just love this art, by the way. He's struggling with fatigue, Batman, because he's pushing himself really hard. His body is, broken and scarred, and he's constantly fighting villains every night and everything else like that. And what Bane does is he gets to Gotham, and he just starts causing mayhem. He goes and he breaks a bunch of people out of Arkham. He sets up other villains and stuff, and he continually puts pressure on Batman till you get to a point where, look, as you can see here, Batman is not doing too well. He's even consulting a shrink, a psychiatrist, trying to figure out this mental block he has, this issue he's having dealing with this fatigue. And you eventually get to the point where, let me see if I can find it in here. Oh, this is cool. Azrael. I love this art and everything. But you get to the point, Robin's in here, this is a really cool, this is some really cool stuff with Robin. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the page, but he's just too broken and too tired and too fatigued to be able to take on Bane, and Bane breaks his back. He cracks him over his knee, just like you see on the front here. Now, this image was just created for this cover. This is the issue where it happens. I guess I could open this one up, but I don't really feel like taking it out of here. In the actual book where he does it, it's a little different. It has like an orange background. Let me see if I can find it. I'm still seeing Batman in here. I'll know once Batman goes away. Oh yeah, this part. Yep, this is, we're still going forward here. This is when Robin fights him in the sewers. Oh yeah, Killer Croc. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess I'll know from the cover if it's the issue. So let me go to the covers. Poison Ivy. There's some really good stuff in this. Some really good stuff in this run. Let's see if I can find. It's not here yet. Oh, here we go. It's in this issue. So bear with me. We're going to see where Bane breaks Batman's back. And this sets up something that, okay, here it is. This is Bane breaking Batman's back. A long-awaited page. So it's different than what's on the cover here. And the anatomy on this cover is absolutely insane. But again, who is this? Joe Kelly? Or no, Kelly Jones. It's ridiculous, but I'm all for it. Here's what it looks like in the comics. And they did this in the Christian Bale, the third movie with Bane, which was so cool to see that in live action, right? And this is the final straw, right? That broke the camel's back. Wow, that's a really apt metaphor. This is the final straw, and he can't go forward after this. And he gets, kind of rescued from being left dead by Bane. Goes out and throws him on the street. And Robin and Alfred go into like panic mode and go rescue him, but he's like borderline paralyzed at this point. So, there he is. So this is a big moment in Batman's history, and what it sets up is something that not a lot of people like that much, but I'm all for it because I think it's interesting, and it's like the only other time. I shouldn't say the only other time. It's one of the only other times where someone took over the mantle of Batman. Someone else that wasn't Batman put on the suit. Now, Dick Grayson has done it before. There's been alternate timelines or if there's been Damian Wayne from the future has been Batman and stuff like that. But like, this is like proper in the timeline, like someone, and it goes on for a whole other omnibus where Azrael takes over as Batman. And here's this, like what you see right here with Batman. This is already Azrael right here. And or you could call him the Azbat as he becomes once he starts changing his costume and stuff like that. And here's Batman again. They go to some drastic lengths to heal him. And they try this new drug and stuff that they have to go get. And they call in some favors. They make it look like he was in a car accident because they have to explain why Bruce Wayne just got his back broken as well. This isn't here. So there he is. So they have to explain away Bane breaking Bruce Wayne or Batman. They have to deal with Batman, and they also have to explain Bruce Wayne being in this state. And they do it by smashing up his car and saying he was in a car accident. And again, what this leads into is Azrael taking over the mantle of Batman. Robin's not super happy about that. Oh, I love this classic Catwoman costume. It's great. And Azrael doesn't have the same code of ethics, at least not at this time, as Batman. And that starts to become a problem. And he takes it, like I said, I didn't grab it. Oh, I love this art of Scarecrow. I didn't grab it off the shelf, but I have all three Nightfall omnibuses. And the second one is the whole thing basically is Azrael as Batman. And if you're a reader at the time, you might be like, okay, when is my Batman? When is Bruce Wayne coming back? And I can see that, and I can see why some people didn't look back on that era of Azrael being Batman like with a ton of fondness. But like looking back on the event, knowing what's going to happen, and then I think the third omnibus with Batman kind of coming back in and taking back over and reclaiming his mantle, and then finally like taking down Bane. I think that's some of the strongest material, and I think for the 90s it was too drawn out. This event, even the part where he's so fatigued and he slowly gets taken down by Bane, it took so many issues to get to the climax of Bane, to get to this issue where Bane breaks his back. So I'll give that as one criticism of Nightfall, but overall, I liked Nightfall. And again, you might not hear too many comic collectors say that, but I do. Now we're going to go a little bit forward. We're going to go to No Man's Land. Okay, now on this one, I'll be honest, I've only read Road to No Man's Land. So I can't give a honest review of the entire event. But I'll tell you what I thought about Road to No Man's Land. So this is now we're getting to I think this is early 2000s when this event happened. And the gist of this is Batman's smarter than everyone. but that is always a thing. But there's Azrael again. The gist of this is that a major earthquake happens in Gotham. So this is another huge thing that's shaking up the Gotham and Batman. And luckily, Bruce Wayne is one of the only people that took heed of what's the movie where they make that joke? He's the only person that listened to the scientist who said, you need to build your buildings to a certain code because there's going to be a major earthquake eventually in Gotham. It's just waiting to happen. So all the Wayne Enterprises stuff is built to be able to withstand the earthquake, but most of Gotham is not. And so what happens is Gotham is destroyed. Most of Gotham is completely destroyed, and people start leaving, and there's in the news and the general sentiment of the characters is Gotham ever going to be able to come back from that? And this is just in the road to No Man's Land. So again, I haven't read this whole event. I haven't read the No Man's Land. I have all three Omnis: Road to No Man's Land, and then No Man's Land Volume 2. And this has a lot of tie-in issues. There's Catwoman issues in here. A lot of stuff with Robin and stuff like that. What goes on at Blackgate? I really like the character of, and I don't think she's used that much, but of the Huntress. You get a lot of the Huntress in here, which is pretty cool. I would actually maybe I need to go out and buy like a trade that has like the origin of the Huntress, because I don't think the Huntress origin is in here. So she kind of shows up, and Batman's already like not liking her. I guess she's another character that doesn't have the same code of ethics. Here is some really cool Poison Ivy. I don't know what's going on here, but I can't say I hate it. Hold on, does it have the cover here? This is a cool issue. I'd like to add this issue to my collection, because any of these issues with like Catwoman and Poison Ivy are cool. We all know why, but anyway. Some really cool art in here. And like I said, a lot of tie-in stuff to show what was going on with all these characters when the earthquake happened. Because what this sets up is, No Man's Land. It sets up Gotham to be this like wasteland of destruction. And there's some really interesting stuff that it touches on, like politically, and there's some really dire situations that they find some of the citizens in that they have to go and rescue. And also, what are the people that are rich and stuff, how are they responding? How's the military responding? And what villains are taking advantage of this crazy thing that happened in Gotham? And, Bruce Wayne is able to take advantage of the fact that a lot of his stuff is left intact to try to help. But I'm not going to touch too much more on No Man's Land. I've heard a lot of people like this event. So that's why I started reading this, and it was good. And I'm going to, continue on and read the next Batman, the next No Man's Land omnibus. So we're in the 2000s now. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from that to show, something I didn't show when we were talking about the Bane, the Nightfall run, was this toy. So this is the McFarlane Toys. What is this? Bane, Batman vs. Bane toy. I think this is so cool. I love the action figures that are like big and bulky, like Bane is. It's the exact costume he has on and what I just showed in the issue where he breaks Batman's back. It even has the artwork from this issue. It has it right there. This is really cool, and I just wanted to show that real quick because I just spent a lot of time talking about it. So yeah, I do have that in the collection. Now I just want to look at some single issues from Batman, some key issues I have. I guess I could save this for when we get to this point, but I'll just show it now. This is First Court of Owls. Oh, I forgot to get my issue 1 of this. Oh, that's fine. This is the First Court of Owls. That's why this is a key issue. New 52. Basically my favorite Batman run by Scott Snyder. I think what he did with this character, the new villain and everything he created, but I'll get to that omnibus eventually. And then we've got here, I'm just going to some rapid fire, some cool issues. This is a Neil Adams cover. You're going to see a lot of Neil Adams here. I'm about to pick up a bunch of Neil Adams covers. So here's another one. This is like, this is Silver Age stuff, Brave and the Bold. This one has Deadman on it. I like collecting Deadman and anything that he's included on. Oh, and this one has the Spectre on the cover, which I thought was pretty cool about this one. So I forgot, I didn't go in to double check what all these keys are. I know a lot of these were keys that I'm showing, but I'm just gonna say what I remember about them. This is another Neal Adams cover with Green Arrow, which is pretty cool. This is a crossover with Green Lantern. That's Hal Jordan, Green Lantern there. This is Silver Age. Here we've got Plastic Man. Oh, I gotta make sure this is focusing while I show these. Actually, why am I doing it this way? Here we go. No need to do it like that. This is a really cool Silver Age issue. I really like the thing that I like the most about this is that you get to see Catwoman's classic green costume that I don't think lasted very long. A lot of people don't know that this is like the original Catwoman costume, and with the whip and everything and the necklace, it's actually hilarious. And any of these with the Comics Code Authority are great too. But yeah, I really like the purple on this cover, and that this is a Catwoman issue. I think it's pretty cool. Here's another Neal Adams cover. I said we're going to see a lot of these. This is another Neal Adams, and this is the 200th issue. And then I think one of these I think this one's like Neal Adams' first work on Batman. And I think this is another key having to do with Neal Adams, but I don't remember what they are exactly. Here, I love wacky villains. So here is a Detective Comics issue with the Weather Wizard, and he's like jumping out of the Flash comic and going into Detective Comics, which I think is pretty cool because he did first appear in Flash, and I have read that because I'm reading Flash from the Silver Age now in the omnibus form. So I love wacky villains. I'm always going to pick that up. Here is Batman and Etrigan the Demon. Pretty cool. I think this might be Neal Adams as well. But again, I'm getting a lot of the crossovers of, because Brave and the Bold usually had Batman and like another character that came in to be part of the story. Here's another one with the Phantom Stranger. I'm a big Phantom Stranger fan, so I always try to collect anything Phantom Stranger, but also, it's with Batman, so I think that's pretty cool. Why do I have this one in here? Oh, it's Brave and the Bold, but this doesn't have Batman on it. But that's like Mist, I think, and this is the original Starman, which would be Ted Knight. This is a key. I don't remember why. Here's Black Canary. Anyway, that was a quick rapid fire of some of the comic books in my collection, some of the Batman stuff that I have. I've talked about all of these books in my shorts that I've created, in my shorts series that I do. But I thought, I'll show some of these keys here. I have a bunch more Batman. I have 2 boxes over here of books that I have not made shorts about or videos about. And there's a bunch of Batman in there, a bunch of new like Silver Age Batman and some modern stuff. And so I have a lot more Batman stuff that I'm not gonna show in this video because I haven't made other content around it yet. So I'm not, that's coming though. That stuff's coming soon. I'm always collecting Batman wherever I go. Always collecting Batman. Next thing we're gonna go to though is a book that I have read the full thing, and that is this. What some people say is the greatest modern Batman run of all time, and that is the Hush Saga. They needed to make this omnibus so long ago. This is fairly recent in terms of omnibus collecting. This did not exist when I first started collecting omnis. So I don't know what took them so long. They had an absolute, which I do have some absolutes in my collection, but I mainly collect omnibuses. And I'm going to do something I do every live, just so that there's context around my omnibus collection. By the way, I made a short today that I put a lot of effort into. And it's about this guy right here, Atrocitus. So go watch that on TikTok or whatever, on YouTube Shorts or Instagram. But this is oops, there's that. Okay, yeah, this is my omnibus collection. So I have a whole loft area that has all my omnis, and I have that's all the Marvel stuff. The DC stuff is on the right. So I have a huge omni collection. So I keep mentioning all these omnibuses. I actually brought out, a lot of Batman omnibuses, but I have so many more on the shelves that I just skipped grabbing because I'm already, putting like a bunch of omnis in this live, and I didn't need to grab every single Batman omni that I have. Anyway, some people say this is the best modern Batman run. I think this is up there. This is in the conversation for sure. I did read this whole thing. I thought it was really, really good. I didn't know who Hush was going to be going into this because I just didn't. It was never spoiled for me. I never learned about this character going in, and you kind of know it's coming when you lead up to the reveal of who Hush is. But it's still pretty good. I think it's still a pretty good like moment when you find out who Hush is. So, real quick, let's talk about this. Jim Lee, one of the best artists to ever do it on Batman, in his prime. I mean, or some people would argue his prime was when he was on X-Men, but this is some of the best Jim Lee stuff that's ever been done. Oh, and I have one of my favorite graded comics in my collection is this right here. And this is from the Hush saga. It's a 9.8. It is signed by the entire creative team. So Jim Lee, Jeff Loeb, Alex Sinclair, and Scott Williams all signed this. My wife got this for me. It's amazing. And this is from the Hush saga, and it's one of my favorite Jim Lee covers ever. In fact, I think this book should be worth a lot more. It's it's a modern book, so it's not going to be worth that much. But I think this cover should get a lot more praise with Batman's hands choking the Joker. And yeah, that's from this, and I love having a Jim Lee signature in my collection. This is the only one I have, but this is a really good one to have. And I love the Batman logo and the Bullet logo that used to be, that was old, but they've just recently brought it back, so that's pretty cool as well. Anyway, yeah, this is a really awesome book. So this is from this the Hush saga. Let's quickly go through here and just look at some of the art from Jim Lee. There's Killer Croc. Look at that. I mean, look at that Batmobile. This is awesome. I'm gonna just gush over this entire. And him and Catwoman in here is amazing. I love how Jim Lee draws the cape. This whole thing, it's like I can't believe you get an entire omnibus of Jim Lee doing every panel and everything, and Batman and Superman and. This is great. You gotta love when there's a classic Batman thing, right? The kryptonite ring, just in case he ever has to deal with Superman, in this case taken over by Poison Ivy. You got the Joker. Clayface plays a big role here. Here is that image from inside the comic of the comic book that I just showed, where he's choking the Joker. So that covers probably a couple pages back here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, this is great. I read this super quick because it was captivating. I was into it when I was reading it. I wanted to see what was going to happen next. You've got Robin. Who's the Robin at this time? Tim Drake, or not? Tim Drake. I think is Robin at this point, or is it Jason Todd? No, it's Tim Drake. But Nightwing is around during this. Catwoman plays a role for sure. Here you go. Here we've got Hush. I guess I'm gonna try not to spoil this because maybe some people haven't read this. Some tie-in stuff. Oh yeah, I forget. I guess Jim Lee didn't do this entire run, but he did. This is the Joker beat up. He did a large majority of it. Let's go past this part to get back to some of the. Oh right, and then a lot of what's in here is like a lot of not half, maybe a third of this book is like material that takes place after like the main Hush event concludes, but it's when Hush kind of resurfaced a couple times, and it kind of helps round off the story. Hush does come back in the Batman Eternal omnibus, that run, excuse me, with Scott Snyder as the author. I started the reason I read the Hush omnibus is because I started reading the Eternal Batman Eternal omnibus, and I realized Hush was going to show up in there, and I was like, I never read the Hush saga, so I went back and I read Batman Hush, and it was really good, and I do think it belongs in the conversation of like best Batman. It's like a saga, right? It's not an arc, it's a saga, so I think it belongs in the conversation for best Batman stories of all time. All right, next, my favorite, Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. I'm a huge fan of Greg Capullo's art. I think he was amazing on Spawn. Spawn has had so many good. It's always had good art. The story of Spawn can get a little crazy and convoluted, but I mean, you start off with Todd McFarlane and you just go forward from there, and it's always had good art. Let me grab this. I just touched on this before we talk about the Scott Snyder run. This is Killing Joke. This is a 9.8. This is the first printing. I've read this. I have the Absolute of the Killing Joke. I think that's another one my wife got for me. This is a classic, and I believe it should be considered that. It's short. A lot of people don't realize how short a Killing Joke is, but it's significant. It has major. It has major. What's the word I'm looking for? It has a major effect on a big time Batman character, part of the Bat family going forward. This is a big part of the Batman history, what happens in this book. And I like the way it's written, and I like the way it's vague, and it kind of goes into the Joker's origin. So yeah, this is amazing, and I'm happy to have this in my collection. But back to Scott Snyder's run. This is my favorite Batman run. It's a modern run. The art in here is amazing, Greg Capullo. And this first arc is the best part of it, which is... Oh, this is volume 2. Crap. I'm not going to go get the volume 1. Anyway, the first arc is of the volume 1 is Court of Owls, which I have the... Where did I put it? I have the first issue in a 9.8. Here it is. This is a variant cover. I also have the A cover of Batman 1 from New 52. That's in one of my comic book binders, actually. But this is what I owned this first, and this is a Ethan Van Sciver cover. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he did a lot of the art on the Green Lantern run with Jeff Johns. Anyway, it's a really cool cover, and this is issue 1 from this Omni, or from volume 1 of this Omni, from the Scott Snyder run. So this has a really amazing art too. This has some really cool stuff with the Justice Buster armor, Death of the Family, Court of Owls. Court of Owls goes into the origins of Batman. Oh yeah, come on, you get the Joker cutting off his face, and sewing it back on. I mean, I don't know how. Scott Snyder comes up with some really dark stuff, and let's not forget, the Batman Who Laughs, who's maybe the most messed up Batman villain ever, or just villain in DC, also came from the mind of Scott Snyder. So I wouldn't want to be in one of his nightmares. Let's just say that. But yeah, this run is start to finish amazing. It has so much cool stuff. It has so much great art. It has really great storytelling. Here's some Court of Owls, which is great. I've read this run 2 or 3 times, and I'm probably going to go back and read this run again because I love it so much. Batman Year Zero is in here. I mean, Year Zero, Death of the Family, Court of Owls. I mean, you just go on and on. The whole, like I said, I think it was earlier here, you had the whole part where he wears the Justice Buster armor. I saw a couple panels from that in here. I don't know if I can find it again. But that is just epic. Let's say, if you want to know what that is, that's Batman versus the entire Justice League, which is really, really cool. I love the colors on this part of this too. But yeah, I can't recommend this run anymore. It's my favorite run of comics ever. I think it has everything that a good, comic book run needs, and it's Batman, my favorite character. So yeah, Scott Snyder's Batman is amazing. And then I also wanted to, we're going to wrap this up here soon, but I wanted to talk really quickly about this book. I talked about this in a previous live recently, but this is also one of my favorite Batman runs of all time that I don't think gets enough attention. I mean, people know that this is a good Batman run, but I think this is really up there for me. And part of the reason, so this is by James Tynion IV. Great art, right? This is a modern run, and this heavily focuses on the Bat family. And actually, Batman himself really takes a backseat to characters like Tim Drake and Batwoman, Batgirl, Azrael. I forget her name. I always forget her name, but she doesn't talk, and she's like an amazing fighter. I forget her name. Clayface is on the team, which is, that's totally out of left field, but it's really cool. And because Clayface can change his form and stuff, it really adds a lot of diversity to the stories. And, just a quick flip through so you can see the art. Oh, spoilers in here. But great art, great storytelling. You get the Bat family, how you always wanted to see them. Cool villains that, it's not just reusing all the same villains that you get in every other Batman story, which is great. Don't get me wrong. There's some of the classic Batman villains are in here, but you get some new ones that are good. And yeah, this whole run, look, so here's the whole Bat family here. And these are the Victim Syndicate, that's the name of this. I think they're called the First Victims is the name of these villains that they're fighting. And this was really good. And this has some, this gets us into some really crazy stuff in here. So, another really great Batman run. And I just showed like the tip of the iceberg in terms of like good Batman material. And I showed mostly modern stuff, 90s forward. So that's my point, is that there's so much good Batman out there. You really, Grant Morrison's stuff is great. There's Batman, Superman. That there's 2 omnibuses for that are pretty good. You just can't go wrong, and that's why again, I know in the title I put like Batman is the best superhero. Debate me, but I feel like this entire live I've just been ranting and talking nonstop about why I love Batman so much. So, and I didn't show this. There's Batman and Hush, another McFarlane toy. But anyway, yeah, all the stuff I just showed is part of the reason why I think he really is the best superhero. I think he makes for the most interesting stories. He's got the best rogues gallery. He's got an interesting backstory that you can connect with. The fact that he doesn't have superpowers, his superpower, like I said before, is that he has a contingency plan for anything. And that's why most people would argue that you put Batman against any superhero or any other villain. If he knows he's going into that fight, he's going to win, because that's his power, is that he's prepared and he's smart enough to figure something out. He's the best tactician ever. So let me see if there's anything else I had left here. Show this one more time. One of my favorite underrated Batman covers. Carmine Infantino. I will say really quickly, Carmine Infantino, I think that some people... make sure my mic's still working. Cut out the other night. Some people have... I don't know how good he was as a person. I just know that I like his art. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm a big fan of Carmine Infantino, and this is one of my favorite Batman covers of all time. And you can grab this for next to nothing at any comic book store or convention or whatever. And I put this one up on my wall because I like it so much. So that's what I started the video with. That's what I'll end it with. If there's anything that you want me to talk about in my lives or in my shorts or just in general, comments are very welcome, and I read them all because I don't get that many, but I definitely reach out with comments and stuff. Let me know what to talk about. Like I said, I'm keeping these lives a little bit shorter now. I'm not going to do quite an hour. I think what am I up to? I'm at 50 minutes today, but they're probably going to be like 30 to 45 minutes going forward. And I'm going to be streaming on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. This week got a little messed up with some stuff, but that's going to be like the schedule I try to stick to. And yeah, if you have any opinions about any of the omnibuses I just showed, or any omnibuses in general, because I have almost all of them, uh, let me know, and I'll talk about it in a video. I'll make some shorts about it. Like I said, I made a short today that I spent a little bit of time on, so go check me out on TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram and stuff like that. And if you found this video, if you watched it live, thank you so much for watching.